Everybody, welcome back to the Church Advance podcast. This is Bryan Sams. I'm super excited today to have Wes Combs with us on the podcast. Welcome to the Church Advance podcast, Wes.
Yeah, excited to be here, man. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. Listen to it every week, even though you're
That's
my
great.
pastor. Even though you're my pastor,
Yeah,
but it's super valuable, every week. So I'm excited to be one of the guests and can't wait to dig into some of the things today with you.
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Wes mentioned he's a part of our church, which has just been great. One of the greatest, honestly, one of the best blessings our church ever has received is when you and your wife Noelle walked through our door, and since then we've obviously outside of church become great friends, sharing lots of common interests, fishing and football being probably the two. I actually wore this for you today, this little I wore this Jag sweatshirt for you actually because it's like a sympathy move here a little bit, you know what I mean? It's been a rough year.
Yeah, we're in a bad spot. So we're trying to figure out what head coach is going to be the solution, and we can't even get that figured out. So
Well, I'm wondering though. I'm wondering if who they're looking at might be Spagnola. Like I wonder if I wonder if they can't hire him right until he's out. So I mean, I kind of wonder if that there might be something there. I hate that because I think he's so awesome in Kansas City. Obviously, that's my team, but I actually got this sweatshirt when we went to that game a couple years back when the Jags made the playoffs. And we
yeah,
all got to go what was that, Houston? Was it Houston or Tennessee? It was a great game.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we've gone to Jag games. We've fished the waters of the Atlantic and the intercoastal here. Great times, man. Certainly appreciate you guys. And then of course more recently, almost a year ago now, you became the worship pastor at our church, and that's exciting, man. Tell me. I mean, you grew up singing, you grew up traveling, music's been a part of your life, but what's it been like to take that role as a worship pastor at our church?
Yeah, man, it's been fun. I was probably pretty anxious, to kind of start. And my background is obviously in music. I've been singing since I was 11, so 19 years just traveling, doing Southern gospel music with my family. And so kind of pivoting from that and becoming, obviously the worship pastor here at River City has been good. It's one of the things that probably has been the best has been just the challenge it's been for me. It's challenged me and pushed me to not only to grow, in my faith and as a Christian, but also as a leader. And so I've really tried to do my best, and I'm really excited. The direction the team's going. I've seen just tons of growth just from starting back, in March or April of this past year, and God's been good, man. I got
Oh
nothing to
yeah. What a transformation. It's been great. Just adding some new elements, changing some visuals, changing some stuff, and we're still kind of working on that. But just I feel like you've jumped in, man, and been a change agent. And that's what we're looking for. It's just great to have a team together with you and Levi and Sarah and others that are volunteers. Just really in a great season at our church, man. How awesome. Right now, just feel like we're seeing people saved basically every week and people being baptized every week and just the church is exploding. It's a fun time, and it's great to be able to serve with friends too. And we, there's a lot of funny stuff that goes on, man. And we've
do.
laughed, we've laughed at personally just at all kinds of stuff. And then we're going to talk a little bit today about just, just some screw ups, man, like some things that just didn't go well. But, let's just, go back to that day. I mean, it was a day, it was like, I don't even remember the calendar day. I think it was somewhere around Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas. It was getting close to
Yeah,
Christmas.
I think it was early December was when it happened. Yeah.
It was like anything that could have went wrong. So let's just let's just let's just kind of unpack the day. So there was worship fails all over the place, and there was preaching fails all over the over the place. I mean, let's just ping back and forth and just like remembering the highlights. I mean, I think my, yeah, yeah, thinking to the sermon, man, I was just so off, man. Like I don't know what was wrong with me. I don't know if I was sick. I was just messed up. I mean, I said that I was telling a story about like a F-16 hurricane in Oklahoma, in Oklahoma. And man, my wife was,
Confidence too, just like just
yeah,
conviction.
absolutely happened. No notes. I'm not looking at notes. I'm just telling you about a hurricane at Oklahoma, and the whole church is laughing at me like you moron. There's no hurricanes. No hurricane. Give me one. Give me one from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there was no better way to kick off the service than introducing a song, but it actually was the incorrect title of the song. So, and of course, we're doing Christmas songs. So this is December. We're doing Christmas songs, and
That's right. That's right. It was.
we had sang this song. I think it was either "Oh Come All You Faithful" or "Angels We've Heard" or something. And I just completely blew it. I was just like, "Hey, we're gonna sing this. You guys join in, sing with us." And it's funny, my our guy that's in the booth who's running slides and doing computer graphics, he's just back there looking at me, shaking his head like this. And that's when I knew. I was like, I
Yeah.
just said the wrong title, and I didn't even correct myself. We just kept moving forward, and sometimes you just got to keep going.
Let's stand and sing "Joy to the World." Just kidding. It's actually going to be "Angels We've Heard" on
Yeah,
high, but
exactly.
you didn't know that.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
So yeah, that was
What was
just a great start.
then there was the back to the sermon, where I said I was quite giving this quote, and the quote was I honestly don't remember the quote, but it was like it was like, man, we everybody knows this quote. It's so familiar, and then I just botched the whole thing.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what it was, but it was a bad one. Like, I mean, definitely
it's
a quote.
the quote about it's not the matter of the heart, but it's the heart of the matter, or something like that.
Yeah,
And just
that's right. The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart.
yeah,
Like
that's it.
like and then, but man, I just got in there. I just got in there and it was over. Just couldn't. I couldn't pull it together, man. It seemed like it was like 45 minutes up there trying to pull that quote out. And finally, I said,
Trying to dodge punches the entire time.
"That's right." Like ultimately, I think I said something like, "Y'all know the quote," you know.
You just gotta brush by it. Just gotta keep going.
Yeah, was there another worship one? I mean, I remember even I think it was one time, and it may have been the same day. I can't remember one, of course you got the classics like the girl at the inaugural where the stuff just doesn't work. That happened Sunday actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny, man. The more things you kind of get involved, it's just kind of part of the game of things are just gonna with technical things are just gonna happen. So it's
Right.
and there's I don't know if there's any perfect way to handle it. It's just some my policy is usually you just have to laugh at yourself or just don't take it too seriously because you getting up there and just getting mad or something is just not
Yeah. Yeah.
people can laugh at yourself. That's usually the best way to kind of go about it. So
That's
that's
interesting. I was going to get to like handling things like this because there's more. I mean, I could tell you about I get to the somber moment, the invitation, right? And like we're trying to see people saved, and we got this, you know, person on our production team that decided to just slide the a camera on wheels, just slide across our little bumpy, our bumpy floor in the auditorium, and it was like,
it just clattered. It sounded like a machine gun going off.
and it was always like she didn't hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, they heard it. They heard it down at Jag Stadium, but but she didn't hear it. And I'm like heads bowed, eyes closed. Man, let's pray. And she's dragging. So you're bringing up a good point that I was going to emphasize, and that's we're talking about. You're going to have mess ups. You're going to have production problems. You're going to have uh, Carrie Underwood. I mean, good night. Just the other day at the inaugural, and that was like, I mean, she waited for like it was a
It was
long time.
long. Yeah, and I'm sure it felt like 30 minutes to her just when
Oh
you're there.
my. and all the memes that are out there about Baptist church sound people, right now. And but what did she do? She called an audible, sang it a cappella, had the choir jump in, the audience, and then when she was done, she was like, "You guys, basically, you guys did great." Everybody, nobody will get hung up on the technical problem because everybody knows technical problems happen. Everybody will remember the improvision. She stepped in and she sang a cappella and told the group to join her, which was I thought was just brilliant and fascinating. So let's talk about this for a minute because you brought it up. You basically said, you have an issue, it just doesn't go well. And your first step, and I mean, it's in my notes too. My first step when I mess a sermon up is I do not take it too hard.
Sure.
Um, and I think on a philosophical level, it points to a problem that we can sometimes have. We think too much about ourselves.
Mhm.
And, as a pastor, I'm like, man, I don't always have it all together. And I don't always get it always right. And if I let a moment like that just decimate me,
Mhm.
and I take it too hard on myself, it might keep me actually back from trying again, or in leadership, leading people to an awareness that you're going to fail, and how do you cope with them. So I think there's something really deep in your person that's got to just be light. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what everybody does, anyways. I mean, when do people laugh and cheer? Like back in our IFB days, when people would start crying in a song and like mess the whole song up. That's when everybody's like standing up and cheering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they get that more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think 100%. Like you said, if you bring it down to the core, it ends up being just a pride issue. Like you're obviously embarrassed. Things are not going to plan, but I think it's an opportunity for you to kind of break down that barrier between you and the people that are sitting there. Because I mean, it's no mystery that if you're standing up on a stage or on a platform, people view you, whether you like it or not, as someone who is a leader. You're in leadership because you're under the spotlight per se. And so I mean, I think you kind of get to the point to where we got to find a way to kind of break that barrier. So sometimes these things happening, I think, are a great opportunity for us to do that and to do exactly what you said. Show them like I'm a human too, and it's a great way to show how you handle conflict. And I think it just speaks volumes to your character and things like that. And so, um,
Absolutely. Somebody told me one time, two things that really stick out here. One, people identify with your weaknesses more than your strengths a lot of times, particularly in this platform leadership.
so true.
Not that it's supposed to be this way, but you're right. People do look at you like, in my case, man, that's my pastor, or man, that guy's like, he's a performing artist. I know that's not the way I think, and a pastor. I mean, you got all these different mixtures going on. And I think if I'm vulnerable and weak in some areas, they're like, oh, it's okay. And then the other thing is, just in the lighthearted part of it, I heard somebody a long time ago say, laugh as much as you can because you're going to cry a lot.
Mm.
Just man, enjoy it. Just enjoy the journey. I think and this just came to my mind. I think one of the other bloopers that day was that the day you wanted to you wanted to extend the song and sing an extra chorus.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That was at the end of service. I was like, there's no better way to try to bring, this Sunday to a close. Just try to just save it. It's like, let's just sing this chorus once or twice more. And it ended up being a cajon solo. I think my piano player, she just, she wasn't ready. It was just a very, spur of the moment thing. And, yeah, so that also ended up being a fail, but it
Hey,
is,
just for some context for everybody, we're not like the old school piano player. This is a whole deal. This is a band
mhm,
with tracks overlaid with very clear, talking in your earpieces, like things are happening. Like it's a piece of a production. I mean, You guys have a plan. You set the songs. We're gonna do verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, repeat, bridge, whatever. And so they're used to that. And then if unless there's some teaching there, there's just not going to be a whole lot of flexibility within the service. When a lot of us are used to being able to do that. Hey, come on, Wes, come on up here and sing. Come on up here, let's sing this song. And when you're doing this more production, uh,
Yeah. And
yeah, it's
you
kind
kind of
of
spoke to about the teaching aspect of it. Looking back at it, I kind of tried to be like, maybe that probably wasn't the best. Knowing my team better, knowing how they respond to, heightened environments when I'm asking them to do something on the spot. And so that was a good opportunity for me to kind of evaluate that. And, and I know we'll dig into kind of how we respond to it with our team, but that was kind of one of the first things I hit on when we met the next time about, you know, let's work on this. Let's be prepared for these moments. So
mm,
actually implementing that into our practices and our rehearsals, like, hey, I'm just going to call something out and you guys need to be ready to do it, because there's an aspect of like, the Holy Spirit. I want to obviously follow what he's guiding to do. And, if I feel like he's leading us to do another chorus or sing another bridge or jump into another song or whatever it is, I want my team to be prepared for that.
mm.
And so that was more of on my part. I said, I need to make sure they're prepared for that, and they're getting the adequate training and practice to do that. So it was a good learning situation for me as well.
That's incredible. Yeah, and I think that really goes to the second step. So I think, your first step is you don't take yourself too serious but I think the second thing is you should always learn and grow and kind of, I guess at minimal, think through if there is something in a weak moment or something that just doesn't go well, can I fix something or adjust something? A bit of self-reflection that might lead to an adjustment. Like in my case, I can speak to the sermon part of it. I mean, man, most people that know me know my process of sermon prep is meticulous. And when I come Sunday, when it's Sunday morning, I am like locked, loaded, ready. Like you know, don't usually need a lot of notes and just kind of just roll. So and that's not because I'm a performer, it's because there's just a lot of preparation that goes into it, hours and hours and hours. And so when I have a moment like that, I'm thinking, well, what was going on? What was wrong? And honestly, during that little season of Thanksgiving to Christmas, I did not have a good answer. I thought, man, it just was a day. However, if I were to see in that moment a couple of things strung together, um, maybe I'm divided. Maybe there's something in my preparation that's not right. Maybe I'm distracted. And maybe it's a moment for me to tune back down and just say, let me look at my week here and the preparation that went into this. Was I a little casual in putting together this message so that when I got to Sunday, I wasn't as free flowing as I need to be or I like to be. So I think, talk about that in terms of you're leading a team, a band, and how you might approach, hey, we've seen this problem repeating, and maybe address something like that from there.
Yeah, and I feel like our list is kind of matching up, and you know, kind of what I had written down was, the first thing I did. Immediately after the service, I really just tried to encourage our team. Once again, kind of going back to the first point of, you know, ultimately, we're not going to take this too seriously, right? Things happen. There's maybe some things we could prevent, maybe some things we couldn't prevent, but we made it through the service. We're going to be okay. We'll talk about it practice. And so I really want to encourage them, because I need them to be, dialed in and ready to go, the next time we get back up there. So I don't want them to feel like they're responsible for all that stuff. So first, I just want to encourage them. And then I think exactly what you just said. So like my process is, and I've been able to learn from what I've had different bosses in the past or just leaders. My process is, the first thing is I'm going to look at myself. So I'm going to look at, is there something that I could have done differently relating to like process? Like, right, is there something that I skipped over that maybe could have prevented some of these miscues or prevented any sort of awkward, transition or anything like that. So that's always going to be, step one for me. I have a ton of things that go into setting up a service, whether it's scheduling, working with lights, with the slides, the lyrics, the tracks, everything. So I mean, there's a ton, and so and me being bivocational, I work a full-time job as well on the side. Managing that has been one of the challenges. But I think if I can go back and I can look and see, okay, I followed my process, I did everything I was supposed to, and the miscues happen, and it's just one of those things that there's not really an explanation for, then I can at least say, okay, I felt like I did my part,
Mhm.
and whatever happened is just what happened. Let's move to the next thing. So maybe, the next thing that pops in my head, was it potentially a team member error? So
Mhm.
was the guy changing the slides, was he not paying attention?
Mhm.
Or, was one of the band members maybe not as prepared as they should have been? And so that's kind of when I start my investigation there. But I want to offer support to them. Like, I'm here to support you guys. Is there a better way that I can get you the resources you need to be more prepared? Or is there more training that I can take time with you to help you get better in this area? And so that's kind of like my process that I go through. Especially if we have, like a Sunday that has just multiple miscues, because usually it's
Which
going
one
to
of
be.
those? And then one of those, you got multiple layers here. It's two things that the two things are sticking out to me right now. One is the way you worded that was really brilliant, and I didn't want to like brush past that. You're asking someone, is there something I can do to better enable you? When you ask a question like that, you diffuse the whole bomb. You're
Mhm.
not saying you screwed up, you better get your act together. You're saying maybe it's because I haven't been clear enough or I haven't provided you the resources. I ask our like leaders, like all of our church leaders, whether it's a Sunday school teacher or a worship leader, do you need anything from me in this in terms of training? Are you lacking resource clarity? I want to keep that communication open because I don't want them to be held back because I'm not providing something. Another thing that from your last little um, monologue there that I want to point out is just you are bivocational. I think it's important for people to hear. I just want to talk about that for a minute because I know a lot of guys that listen to this are going to be bivocational. So I know this is not necessarily scripted, but um, yeah, so you were a full-time practicing nurse,
Mhm.
and then you shifted gears into medical equipment sales. And so you have a full job, like a real deal job, and then this is your part-time gig, really. I like how you worded it the other way, though. I like that. I like that better. I do, I do medical sales on the side, and you do. I would say you treat, in my opinion, you treat the worship ministry the way I view you and the way I'm seeing you treat it. I do feel like the other things like your side gig because I think you're passionate about it. I think it comes out, but here's a guy out here pastoring a church and also having to do whatever else he's doing. What are some of the things that you do? I mean, you're married, you go wonderful wife Noelle, you got your baby Indy that's and so you got a growing family, a new family. What are some ways how you handling kind of that a little bit? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say time management has never been my strong suit. So even, I grew up going to public school. There wasn't a ton of emphasis on excellence, and really, I focused on sports, and that was, really it. And so once I went to Christian college, it was kind of an eye opener for me about,
Hmm.
you know, how how poor of a student I was and how poor my time management was. And so then, to kind of go back to what you said, going to nursing school was definitely a kind of a wake up call for me. Like, hey, you got to get your act together here, man. Like, you're not going to get through life if you can't figure out how to manage your time. So that was something I had to figure out pretty soon, and that's kind of where I would say is step one for me. Um, Having a schedule and kind of allotting yourself time to complete the tasks that you need. And so,
Mhm.
one of the nice parts about a lot of the stuff we do for worship is I can do a lot of it remotely. So I'm able to access, everything that we do from a graphics and lyrics and all that stuff remotely, so I can prepare all the slides, prepare everything, without me actually having to be in the building. And so I try to knock all that stuff out on Mondays. Like Monday, just kind of the kickoff of the week. I knock 90% of everything for worship out on Monday because my medical device job requires me to travel. I cover all of Florida and all of Alabama, so I do tons of traveling throughout the week. And so, I mean, the biggest thing is just staying diligent to your schedule and your time management. I can't overemphasize that enough. But I think finding ways to use technology to help me be able to be, like I said, remotely or flexible has been huge because it would be tough if I didn't have that access to try to juggle all of
Yeah,
that.
and you even come you come to staff meeting remotely, church staff meeting, unless you're around the building, which is totally fine, but and that's totally great. I mean, in this world we live in, we have to be able to adjust to that. I would never need to go to church, like actually need to go to church. I'm the pastor, except for Sunday and Wednesday night. Everything I do there, I could do anywhere. I think we just all have to have flexibility. You also talked about essentially time blocking is what you were
Yep.
referring to. And I think there's a lot of research that's been done out there recently. I've listened to some stuff from Dr. Josh Axe recently about, I can't remember the word, but there's a word within time blocking where you even block off chunks of time with predetermined breaks. So my space, for instance, I'm going to work 45, 50 minutes on a sermon, and I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to move, and it keeps me fresh. My Monday mornings are exclusively sermon prep. So I'm gonna lock in, and I'm gonna do sermon prep from like 8 o'clock in the morning till around lunchtime. But within that, I am breaking that up with seasons. So I just know, like me, I'm busy. I'm bivocational too, to some degree. I teach in college also. So man, Monday, Wednesday for me is huge church day, huge study
Right.
day. Tuesdays and Thursdays, or excuse me, more heavily college work that I have to do. And so yeah, I think when you have your a few different irons in the fire, you got to know your rhythm, and you got to, obviously you got to be diligent because you know you do work two jobs, and so you have to be able to manage that. And then
Right.
you got the family element too, so you got to protect that. I know, I'm sure that's probably a little bit of a challenge too, but I know that you guys work well together, and I think keeping that in perspective is a huge issue as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no question that, if I didn't have my wife support me through all of this, it would be nearly impossible. So we,
Wow.
before I accepted the position, it was, that was I talk about was, hey, your support and all of this, and for you to have my know that I'm gonna have to spend a little bit extra time here sometimes, but her support's been extremely instrumental in this, and I definitely could not have made the leap to being bivocational.
Yeah, and yeah, that's so great. And I think even, maybe she took a little step back. Obviously, she's a mom now, but also even with her career, I think she's adjusted even her uh career down a little bit, like she works less is what I'm getting to, which I just as a personal, for whatever that's worth, I know I've told you privately, but I think it's super admirable on Noelle's part to support that in such a way that she was even willing to, I mean, she went to nursing school, she trained to be a nurse, she's out there doing her thing, but to be willing to do that, and do less nursing, more mothering, and more managing at home, really, is just tremendous. And so, certainly our wives have helped us move along a lot further in life than we would have if we didn't have them.
She's a rock star, man. I don't, being a stay at home mom is a full self. So you know, I earn nothing but respect for her. I'm like, I'll take two jobs. If you don't have to work as much and you can stay on with the kid, I will easily make that sacrifice. So yeah, no, she's
100%.
awesome.
And I agree. Do the same thing in my home too, and it's a blessing. Awesome, man. What else? Anything else come to mind when you're thinking about looking at a tough day? I don't know if you got through your list there.
Yeah, I mean, really, the other thing is and back to remembering obviously why we do what we do, right? Like, I'm reading a book right now, and I'm not a reader, so this even your podcast has kind of inspired me to, to be a more avid reader and trying to
Nice.
grow myself. And so, my goals for this year is to read a few books. But I'm reading "It Matters." It's by Bob Kauflin. He's kind of part of
Oh
I think
yeah.
the Sovereign Grace music, and so he had a quote in his book, that I started just a few weeks ago, and it says, "God isn't pleased with the sound or the quality of our performance during the sound of our hearts." I was just, that
Mm.
is so well, so greatly put. And now, I sent it to our team and was like, "Hey, we're gonna go do some services that maybe might not get great. You may feel like, nobody was responding to any of the music or do anything, but we just have to remember, you know, God is obviously just asking us to be up there with a clean heart and keeping our focus on Him, and that's what our church should be. So that's typically I always want to bring it back to that in a meeting, especially if we're responding like I say that's kind of just not really gone. And say, hey, these things are going to happen, but
That's good.
despite all of that, we're still going to give God glory, and we're still, going to have, in the right spot and be doing it for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. It's the live for the audience of one, sing for the audience of one, preach for the audience of one. That's that mindset, and that's exactly right. At the end of the day, just like I preached on the Tower of Babel last Sunday, their plans were great. Their building looked great. Everything was great. The only problem was they didn't have God's approval on it. And so you can have this great production, have the best singers. I really appreciate that. But we're going to step out of there. And I just thought, man, why not finish this with a few fun things? So who you got? What you got here? We got the Chiefs and the Bills. We got the Commanders and the Eagles. What? I mean, obviously Jags are out. I mean, they've been out a long time ago. So
Yeah, we've been out for years. So no, I was cheering for the Lions. My wife's from Michigan, and so we were kind of jumping on the Detroit bandwagon and cheering them on. Obviously, it would have been a great story, but I'm interested to see the Commanders kind of shake things up. That's kind of been interesting. Jaden Daniels, to at least everything I know, I'm pretty sure he's a fairly devout Christian, and not afraid to speak of his faith and things like that. So that's obviously going to give him the nod from my perspective, but would be cool. They're kind of the fairy tale story that would happen. And so from the NFC, I'm kind of cheering for them. And then from the AFC, I it would be cool to see Josh Allen get a Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah,
I think he's a great quarterback. He works hard. Seems like he does everything the right way. Um, but getting through I mean, it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. It was kind of when Tom Brady was running things. It's like you always know they're in a position to win it. So it's if you want to be on top, you gotta beat who's on top. And right now it's the Chiefs. So it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick against
yeah,
them.
absolutely. At some point, obviously, Lamar or Josh, they're going to win a Super Bowl. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in this era. Mahomes is roughly just maybe less than halfway through his career. He's not going to win them all. Brady didn't win them all. He won seven, but he didn't win them all. I mean, he's a quarterback for 20 years or whatever. So I mean, he did not win the Super Bowl 13 times. He did not win the Super Bowl more times than he did win the Super Bowl. So that's going to happen. As a Chiefs fan, we have to recognize that. I don't think this is the year, though. I think Kansas City's on fire. I think we've gone since week 12 without a turnover, which is a stat that is just a critical stat. And think about this. the Bills would not have beat they would not have beat the Ravens without the 3 turnovers. So I'm saying I don't think Mahomes is
Yeah.
gonna make the Lamar mistakes that he's so prone to make, and I don't
Right.
think because of that, I don't think the Bills have enough. I just don't think they beat us, but they beat us at probably our lowest point of the season. They beat us with heavy injuries, and they're great. I mean, I'm not taking away from them. I love watching them play. So I got the Chiefs and the Commanders in the Super Bowl in a Cinderella story, but I think the Cinderella story is going to end. I think the Chiefs are going to three-peat. I think Travis is going to retire, and I think we're going to it'll be a new identity, and they'll win their three. Maybe have a couple years where they slide a little bit as they're rebuilding, particularly offensive line. If we don't get rid of Jawan Taylor and that other clown on the left side, I might quit
For
cheering
sure.
for him.
That's a Jacksonville Jaguar inheritance. So yeah, could
Phew.
told you guys that
So
was the
yeah,
best move. But
nah, he's a penalty ridden player for sure. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm on the Commanders bandwagon right now. I love it. I think they're fun. And so that's the way I see it. I'm kind of with you. I was hoping the Lions would go. I was wanting to see Chiefs and Lions. But because
yeah,
we have the home field advantage, I think that's a deal breaker. I don't know if they're going to be able to come into Arrowhead and beat us. I don't see it. So fun times, man. Well, hey, this has been
I mean,
great, been rich. Going to be a lot of help.
from a Bills standpoint, I'd always rather be the team that lost the first. Always rather be in that position. The trying to beat it twice is just it's tough, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Man, that's great, bro. Well, hey, I'm gonna let you go. I know you got lots more to do on your on this. Well, what was supposed to be a snow day here in Jacksonville. It kind of missed us all, but we're locking in the house. I did a cold plunge today. Me and Brent, we jumped in the pool, 47 degrees, and it was 30 degrees outside. So we decided to do that. It was crazy. But man, we're rolling, man. But
Like,
appreciate
man,
you, and
yeah, man.
thank the Lord for you, and we're having a great time. So, hey, I'll put Wes's email address in the show notes. If you got any questions for him, I'm sure you can email him. And if we can ever help you from River City, from administration to service structure, let us know. And we guys will check in with you later. God bless you guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time on the Church of Ants podcast.